Beneath the cold waters of Scapa Flow, a giant from the First World War waits in silence.
This is a scuttled ship of Germany's high seas fleet, sunk deliberately in 1919.
A modern diver approaches the wreck, following the scars left by time and corrosion.
The ship's name still clings to the steel, SMS Markgraf. Decks have collapsed, opening a path into the ship's hollow interior. Inside, the remains of a sailor still wear the uniform of the Imperial German Navy.
A large deep-sea fish appears suddenly, a reminder that this wreck is now part of a living ecosystem.
The creature drifts away, uninterested, leaving the diver to continue alone.
Unfired ammunition still lies where it was abandoned over a century ago.
This warship became a steel tomb when its crew scuttled the fleet rather than surrender.
More than a century, underwater has left every surface eaten away by corrosion.
This sailor remains exactly where he sat when the ship was scuttled.
Personal identification still hangs from the uniform, barely readable beneath corrosion.
Heavy artillery once filled this space, now frozen in decay. The corridors stretch on, silent and claustrophobic.
Another large deep-water fish drifts out from the wreck's shadows.
Like many inhabitants here, it has claimed the battleship as its home.
Control equipment remains where it was last abandoned.
Hull damage reveals how violently the ship settled onto the seabed.
Even in ruin, the battleship's scale is overwhelming.
The faded markings still identify this as a warship of Imperial Germany.
Even the anchor lies abandoned, claimed by the seabed.
The chains show decades of slow decay under salt water.
Escape equipment was never used when the fleet was scuttled.
Crew quarters remain eerily recognizable.
One sailor never left his bunk.
A large deep-sea fish drifts through the confined space.
The visitor disappears as quietly as it arrived.
Personal storage lockers still line the walls. This battleship is no longer a weapon, but a silent underwater grave. The ship's heavy guns lie where they fell during the sinking. Once powerful artillery is now little more than corroded steel.
Identification markings are still barely visible.
Deep inside, the Schiphol's engines remain locked in silence.
Control systems have deteriorated beyond recognition.
A deep-water eel slips out from its hiding place.
It vanishes into the wreck's twisted metal.
Engine orders are frozen at their final command.
Parts of the ship have collapsed into the depths below.
The exploration moves back toward the open water. At the stern, the ship's propulsion lies frozen in place.
The scale of the machinery dwarfs the diver.
Steering controls have been locked for over a century.
The stern compartments are partially crushed.
Careful movement is required inside the weakened structure.
One crewman was trapped as the ship settled.
A large deep-sea predator now guards this space.
The fish moves on, uninterested in the visitor. Supply crates remain scattered throughout the wreck.
The stern reveals the final moments of the sinking. Near the bottom, the hull has collapsed under its own weight.
These openings expose the ship's hollow interior.
Storage holds still contain their original equipment.
Military supply markings are still faintly visible.
Personal gear lies scattered where it fell.
A deep-sea angler emerges from the seabed without warning.
The strange visitor fades back into the wrecker's shadows.
Vertical access points are badly deteriorated.
Even a light touch releases clouds of corrosion.
The exploration continues along the ship's silent exterior.
Higher along the hull, the damage from scuttling is even more visible.
Communication equipment collapsed as the ship settled.
Signal lights have long since gone dark. The open deck is slowly being reclaimed by marine life.
Collapsed hatches reveal more access points into the wreck.
A massive deep-water fish rises silently from the deck.
The encounter passes without incident.
Below deck, storage spaces remain partially intact.
Even wooden cargo has survived in fragments.
The diver withdraws, leaving the wreck undisturbed.
The bow rests deep in the sediment, marking the ship's final direction.
Anchor ports gape open like empty sockets.
The ship's name is still visible from the bow.
The forward compartments were crushed as the ship hit the seabed.
Mooring equipment remains tangled where it fell.
Another large deep-sea fish appears suddenly in the confined space.
The encounter ends as quickly as it began.
The ship's bell has fallen silent forever.
Some artifacts are left exactly as they are found. The bow disappears back into the cold silence of Scapa Flow.
The torpedo's identification numbers are barely visible beneath layers of rust and silt.
Faded letters on the bow hint at the ship's origin and wartime mission.
Time has frozen the crew in their final moments aboard the vessel. Even the captain's instruments lie abandoned, overtaken by the sea.
Each artifact tells the silent story of the men who served here.
The Wreckle's interior is a maze of corroded metal and broken structures.
Time itself seems to have stopped on this ocean floor.
Remnants of the vessel's armaments lie undisturbed after decades underwater.
The hull's breach reveals the ship's long struggle against the ocean's weight. Even the life-saving equipment has surrendered to the sea, a haunting remnant of survival attempts. This medal, once a symbol of honor, now rests silently at the ocean floor. The ship's skeletal remains stretch across the seabed, a monument to history. Navigation tools of a bygone era reveal the vessel's final journey. Even weapons frozen in time hint at the ship's wartime past. The portholes frame a ghostly glimpse of the vessel's interior.
Uniform details confirm the identities of those who once served here.
A hidden chest hints at the vessel's lost cargo, waiting for discovery. The wreck's scale is revealed in its shattered, corroded remains.
Each relic tells the haunting story of lives lost beneath the waves.